On stage, Livingston want to tell you that we think you are absolute rock stars. We appreciate your partnership. We appreciate that you come in and stand beside our kids on their walk of faith, and we appreciate that you spend time in our classroom. So thank you for all you do. Coincidentally, and this is not even planned, have my life list here, and it's amazing because I just literally ticked one off because I was rocking backstage. On stage, in front of 1,000 people, so it's like, I'm almost famous. Well, I am famous, actually.
You weren't even singing along there, you're not even...
But I was. I didn't have a microphone, but I was. But I actually have another life goal. Can you help me out since you're sitting here anyway?
That clock is ticking, and...
It's alright, Michelle's friends with us, hashtag friends, hashtag back in history. Like, we're all good, we're all good. Can you get your phone out, and because my next one is an Oscar-style selfie, so if I just go down here, with all my thousands of fans and friends, please actually
You're
take
just
a
lucky
photo.
that I know Roche, and if we put a photo anywhere on something that...
And hashtag it, it'll be fun.
Hashtag it, she'll be all over it.
Excited. Okay.
Did it, done.
So we're not actually here for that today. We are doing something really exciting at Livingston, and we cannot hang on to ourselves. We are in an experiment, and it started at the beginning of the year, and so you would think that we'd give it time to, have a go, but it is so exciting that we really want to tell you about it today. So let me introduce you to our rockstar principal, Mark Laraghy, to take it away.
I'm not sure about that rockstar bit, and let me keep introducing someone, and let me introduce you to Steve Drinkall from Churches of Christ. And Steve, I know when we were preparing for this last week, you were mentioning that you were looking forward to coming to the CIA conference, and I just wanted to clarify, this is not the Central Intelligence Agency. There is no intelligence out there at all. But Steve, you're here because we're talking about a big year and our experiment at Livingston with trying to implement that. So maybe my first question should be to try and bring everybody in. What is a big year?
Well, Mark, a big year is a bird watching competition in the USA, which is run every year for about the last 70 years, where basically people try and see, put aside 1 year of their life to see how many different species of bird they can see or just hear their call in a calendar year.
That's great background. No. Let's not go between you and Amanda, for goodness sake. No, I'd rather just move on to the big year that we're experimenting with, if that's okay.
Well, they're actually kind of linked, Mark, because they made a movie about this bird watching thing called A Big Year, and a movie starring Steve Martin, Jack Black and Owen Wilson. And it followed these three guys who put aside a year of their lives to travel and follow the seasons across America and see how many different species of bird that they could find.
So slow down. So what's this got to do with Christian
I'm getting there. Stay with me.
So it's that time, and I'm worried about that.
So but basically they made this movie, and when I watched this movie, as well as doing some research, I was quite taken by the fact that these people would put aside one whole year of their lives to just do something that they really love doing. And when I watched it, I thought, how good would it be if we could somehow create like a big year in following the way of Jesus, where people could put aside just one calendar year to actually put into practice all of those things that they knew about the way of Jesus but never really got quite around to doing. Because, you know, my friends and I, we understand the way of Jesus. It's just very hard to do, right? I know what Jesus meant by love your enemies and pray for them. I just don't want to have to do it because it hurts. The gap is not in understanding. The gap for me has always been in obedience. And in my Christian life, I've spent lots of time trying to help other people live out the way of Jesus. And I've done sermons and books and podcasts and vodcasts and DVDs and short courses and all of that sort of stuff, in the hope that if I change people's thinking, then their behaviours would change, they would live it out, and more importantly, their loyalties would change, right? They would actually become loyal to the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But my experience over 30 years is that just very rarely happened. For all of my effort in books, podcasts, sermonising, teaching, changing people's thinking, very little behaviour has actually changed on the ground. And I started finding myself thinking, we need to come up with something where people can just join and begin to act out the way of Jesus even before they believe it. What if we could find something where people could act their way into a new way of thinking rather than always trying to think their way into a new way of acting, which is where I put all of the eggs in my basket. And so we thought, why don't we get together and create this thing which is a big year in following the way of Jesus? So we dug back through Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, and we said, what are the big themes of what Jesus speaks about? And we came up with 12 things, basic things like trust God, love your neighbours, love your enemies and pray for them, hold your possessions loosely, give generously, reform yourself, not others, be humble, you know, those basic things. And then we mapped them one to each month and said, what if we just got people to focus on one of those things for each month of the year? So if they stayed with us for a year, they'd get all the way around the big things of Jesus' teaching. And then what about if on the first day of each month, we published online a list of challenges that people could actually do to practice doing that thing that Jesus spoke about? So for example, when it was the month about hold your possessions loosely, one of the challenges might be sometime this month, go around your house, find one thing that you really like and give it away to someone who you think might appreciate it or need it more than you do. Because there's something about actually having to give away something that you really like, which helps you understand what Jesus might have meant when he talks about our value as people not being tied up in our possessions and the things that we own. There's something about acting the way of Jesus which better helps us wrestle with what Jesus actually meant. There's something about serving the poor which helps me understand Jesus' heart for the poor. And so we began to publish these challenges, maybe 10, 15 challenges per month, which linked into those big themes of Jesus. And lastly, we thought, and what if we just asked people to do this in teams? Because, you know, the way of Jesus has always been a team sport, right? It's never been this individual thing between me and God. God draws us into teams and families and communities. So why don't we ask people to join the Big Year community in crews of 3 or more, so they're already in this little kind of huddle, if you like, that is practicing living the way of Jesus in real time and in real places. And so we did this 3 or 4 years ago, and to our surprise, little groups started showing up in prisons and in sporting teams and in family groups doing it, in different states, in different places, just quietly going about doing the things that they know Jesus has already asked them to do, and seeing if acting changes their thinking better than sometimes thinking changes their acting. So that's what the Big Year community is.
So Steve, where can this bush take us in terms of Christian schooling?
Well, look, very quickly, I guess my simple thought is that Christian schooling, in my experience, has done very well at educating. We've done a lot of talking, courses, Christian education about the Bible, worldview, Jesus, the gospel, the whole thing. We teach it well. But I guess the weak suit sometimes is, how does that hit the ground? How do young people and teachers and families in our community actually put legs on their faith and begin to live it? And better still, is there a way that we can develop programs where people can experience and be part of that community before they believe everything? Or even if they don't believe everything, so that it's something they get swept up in, this community of people that are living the way of Jesus, and then they find their faith in that thing. So in a context with Christian schooling where we're very strong on teaching and speaking and courses and stuff, the Big Year community is simply a one little experiment in that area of counterbalancing the acting out our faith with the knowing and understanding of our faith. It's not a curriculum that you can buy off the shelf and run for everybody. It is a small little community that can find its way bubbling up into small groups and large groups based on action, not thinking. And Livingston College has had a good crack at trying to build that across their whole school community and roping in their parents, families, students from primary all the way through to 12 in acting out the way of Jesus.
We have had a go at that, and if you want to know more about that, Amanda's got her name up in lights, amanda.roberts@livingston.qle.edu. You know the rest of it. Steve, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you very much.